Hi, my name is Chloe Sun, and I'm a senior in communication design, and I'm honored to introduce Mike Pell. Mike is a disruptor of design. He is the inventor of Adobe Acrobat, Adobe PDF, and Apple's stylized font menu. He's been granted over 20 patents, is the author of 3 books, and is an expert in spatial design and visualization. He now leads the Microsoft Garage in New York City, and a fun fact is that he loves sci-fi films and is a former skateboarder.
Okay, so first of all, it's okay, I'm going to wander around because I like to pace around. I'm going to talk. Hi, my name is Mike Pell. Thank you for staying to do this part. I promise I'll try to be entertaining, okay? If you don't laugh out loud, I did something wrong. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you very briefly, I'm an artist, right? I started out life as an artist. I went to go to art school. I figured out I wasn't actually as good of an artist as I thought. Went into computer programming, but I've always been able to do design and technology and business all at the same time. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is you do not have to be one thing. And as a matter of fact, that's the key to my whole talk. You cannot be one thing now. Make sense? Okay, you ready to get started? Okay, see, if it was up to me, I would turn all the lights out. I would make it really dark. It's like super cool, but it's okay. We'll try it this way. All right. See, start with something moving. Why? Because it's just more interesting, right? Nobody starts with anything moving. Okay, if you don't remember anything about what I say, try to remember this. Okay, this is the most interesting part of design to me personally. In the world that we live in, there are so many things that are not visible, but are very important to all of us. I think it's your job as designers and architects and storytellers to help people see the invisible parts of life, because it's some of the most important and amazing and really mysterious still to this day. And so as a person who does a lot of data visualization, I work on lots of different projects, I'm always drawn to the invisible parts of what we do. So you may be asking yourself, why am I here? Like, yes, I invented a bunch of stuff and whatever, but you know, like at its heart, I'm really an optimist. And I think that that's what really sets me apart perhaps from some people who will talk to you about artificial intelligence in the future and what's going on. Some people could be very pessimistic right now. I happen to think that we are at the beginning of an incredibly new age. If you go back in time, it's true. The font menu that all of you use in Photoshop or Illustrator or like whatever program you use, I actually invented that when the Mac came out. Why? Because the font menu was drawn in the same font. You couldn't tell what the font was. It was ridiculous. Okay, it's like I had to fix it. So I literally hacked the system to fix it. I started working after that with some friends of mine at Pixar. There was no tool to create 3D type way back when. And so I was working with Photorealistic RenderMan. I thought, oh, I'll just write this myself. That was a lot of fun. That actually became a Pixar product, believe it or not. Right after that, I was part of a Silicon Valley startup. I went to Adobe Systems. We were given a few weeks to try to figure out how to solve a problem, which was you couldn't move a document from place to place, computer to computer. That turned out to be Acrobat and PDF. I literally hacked together the first PDF document, true story. Then I invented the metaverse with some friends of mine, but it was 30 years too early. Because we all read a book called Snow Crash, which you should all read, Neil Stephenson. It's an amazing book. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. That's okay. But I'll just go really fast and tell you the last 10 years I've been at Microsoft in the Garage, which is our worldwide innovation program. It's a lot of fun because I get to see people take their ideas and make them real every day. I learned so much in the last 5 years. I wrote all these books, mainly about how AI and spatial computing are going to take data and help us to communicate more effectively. I'm a data artist. You know, when I'm a real artist, like I draw and I paint, I like to do lots of things, but I actually like to play around with data and see how I can visualize it in interesting new ways. And so you can find examples of my work, but some of the more interesting work I did with data was to try to turn it into something that looked like a scene, that was really more cinematic storytelling. And that's important because this is the next generation of data visualization. It's not going to be about being super clear, which, by the way, I think if you have a choice between being beautiful and clear, always pick being clear, always. That being said, you can also make things beautiful too, right? Or interesting, or want to know more about it. So remember I was telling you about the invisible. The best examples I have of showing things that are invisible are, we all know that Wi-Fi exists, right? Like you're all using Wi-Fi now on your phones, but nobody ever gets to see what Wi-Fi looks like. I was in New York, where I live, and there's this robot, sort of moving around on this floor, and I was thinking to myself, well, it must be communicating with the sensors and other things, but I can't see what it's talking about with all these sensors. I wish I could. Same thing when you get you might be at a rave or a party, you can get like a light stick. You see the trails, but that is actually a motion over time. And maybe, people don't really think about it in that way, but that's exactly what it is. It's time. That was the invisible element of all that. This is magnetism, right? If you take some metal shavings and you throw it near a magnet, this is what it looks like. Did you know that's what it looks like? You're shaking your head. Yes, come on. You do not. Okay, all right, maybe you're a scientist. Okay, I take it back. When I look at the subway, I'm thinking to myself, okay, how am I actually going to get to where I need to get to? And so I'm doing things like this in my head. Right? I'm sort of overlaying where I need to get to when I see these things. So there's a lot of invisible elements. There's lots of sensors in the world. Pretty soon, we heard yesterday, our environments will talk to us, right? It'll know exactly who we are. It'll talk directly to us. And so for me, this all comes back to storytelling. All these amazing invisible parts of life can be made into stories that are meaningful and have value and help people to understand the stuff that we all have to understand. There's a lot of ways to tell stories. You can sort of, in the old days, we would sit around the campfire. Maybe you still go out in the woods and do that here in beautiful Pittsburgh. You can do that. But in the future, we're going to be sitting around digital campfires, still needing to tell the same kind of stories. When you tell a story, the most important part, and you have to pay attention to this, I do this all the time, you have to look the person in the eye, right? You cannot, okay, I'm just going to say this because we're all friends here, right? When I talk to a lot of people at Microsoft, they stare up at the ceiling. Like they're thinking these big thoughts, like I'm standing right in front of them. Like, why aren't you looking at me when you're talking to me? I don't understand. If you don't look at me, I can't focus on you, and I'm not really hearing what you're saying. So it's a simple thing, so just try it. I know it's like sometimes uncomfortable, but you got to try. There are going to be digital elements in your world that you're also going to talk to, or they're going to talk to you. This may be an embodied AI that just happens to be my cat. I don't know. But just pretend it's an AI for a moment. Same thing with, this is a piece of my sister's artwork. When I look at it, I sort of see her telling me a story. I may want to zoom in on a certain part of that piece of artwork and have a conversation with the artist about it. Remember, Sundar just told you maybe we'll all be talking to robots? That's true. We are all going to be talking to robots. I know, it's kind of horrifying, but it's true, okay? I'm just telling you. Oh, by the way, wait, I got to tell you one more thing. What I did, remember I told you I was an artist? Okay, I'm a designer, technologist. I'm actually from the future. I know you're thinking, I look like I'm from Westworld, right? But it's true. I actually have a lot of vision. I'm from the future. I'm telling you things that are going to happen. So you can choose to pay attention or you can choose to ignore me. But I'm telling you, this is how it's going. Okay, let's talk about design because we're at the School of Design. You all know this, public service announcement, we have to design artificial intelligence, machine learning, and everything that comes after that for everyone. We were guilty for a very, very, very long time of designing for ourselves and not thinking about other people. We have to, from the very beginning of every project you start, you have to think about how to make what you're doing for everybody, not just a particular set of people. It's super important. That said, this is what data is going to look like very quickly. It's not going to be static charts and graphs. It's not going to be spreadsheets. It's not going to be pretty dashboards. It's going to look like this, all of it. Why is that? Because business is constantly in motion. The entire world around us is in motion. So for the life of me, I don't know why we still look at static charts and graphs. It's ridiculous because it's not telling you the truth. It's not showing you what's happening over time. It's not showing you the most important elements of what we're doing. This is what the world really looks like. It's just that we don't see it in this way yet, right? This is super important to pay attention to. This is something else. This is not a Microsoft product announcement, okay? I'm going to show you this video, and you're going to think to yourself, I'm not going to say anything else. Just watch this for a moment. That's what it's going to be like to use Microsoft Office. Okay, you don't believe me? I told you. I told you my secret, right? That's a wonderful piece. That was done several years ago. That's a great illustration of what I call taking information or data or whatever you want to call it and letting it escape, right, from its containers. That's what's next. Right, we have to find ways to take our most important information and get it out of its current container into the environments that we're in. You saw some examples of how you could take information and break it down. I wrote a book about this called The Age of Smart Information, where we need, as designers, we need to find the core, the essence of what we're looking at and get it out of where it's trapped right now. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about your career. You ready? Remember, I told you I'm an optimist? This is where we are right now. Why is that? Because I'm just going to be honest with you. Right now, the industry, like business in general, is a little paralyzed because they're listening to a story that AI is going to replace all of our jobs. They're not quite sure what to do. They're freezing their hiring. They're slowing down. They think that machines can do this and that. It's not true. People have to do these jobs. The machines can't do what you do. They just can't. They can replicate and they can mimic and they can pretend in some ways, like you've heard Sundar, I have the same experience. Like you tell your agent to do something and it does something totally different. We're not there yet. I did something years ago that I called fast design, which was my answer to being able to do more in the amount of time that I had to work. And fast design to me was very, very simple. I boiled everything down as much as I could to its essence. And I talked to one of your classes yesterday about this. I assign a human personality to everything I design, whether it's a piece of back-end code or a water bottle or whatever, it doesn't matter. Because we know people really well. And you can assign a personality to anything and think about how it should act. And finally, you have to go fast. What I teach people in the garage is you have to go so fast that you're uncomfortable. And I know we're in a design school. I'm going to be struck down any second for saying this. You have to listen to me on this one. You've got to set process aside sometimes and just go fast. You don't need all the data. You don't need to have a consensus. You don't have to ask anybody, but you have to figure out how to work faster. This is how I do it, right? So for me, I wanted to get something across. It's pretty clear what's happening here, right? Somebody bumped this, it's spilling. There's not a lot to talk about. You have to find the essence of what you're doing very, very quickly. You also have to go from A to B as fast as you can and ignoring all the process that you normally would go through. And again, I'm so sorry to the professors and all the people that have told you you have to follow the process, you're going to die, like it's going to be horrible, you'll never succeed. I'm telling you the exact opposite. Learn what you learn here, but when you go off to apply it in the real world, throw it out the window, right? And think about what are you really being asked to do? And figure out how to do that as fast as possible. Does that make sense? Okay. I know, I'm never going to be able to speak here again, but And of course, agentic AI is on everybody's mind, right? Okay, so You know the difference between AI and agents, right? Like AI is ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Claude. Like the assistants that you use are very general purpose. They're super, super good at what they do. Agents are a very specialized form of AI that have been sort of given a bunch of documents or told to do something in a certain set of instructions. The difference between an agent and a regular AI is that agents can actually do tasks. They can do things in succession, which is super cool. There's a movie, a documentary you should watch about a company called General Magic. I lived in Silicon Valley for a long time. I was there when this was all happening. This company called General Magic came out of the original founders of the Macintosh at Apple, that group. They invented agents and a whole bunch of other things like the cell phone, and smartphone, I guess you would say, 30 years ago. They were so far ahead. It's an incredible story. Go watch it if you've never seen it. And then Sundar and I were talking about my hero, Clippy, here. If you don't know who Clippy is, go look him up. Okay, Clippy was way ahead of his time. He was super annoying. Okay, I'm just going to say he was not, like, as you say, he was not executed very well, but it was the right idea, right, in 1996. Clippy was an assistant for people working in Microsoft Office. He didn't get it right. He was super annoying, but it was the right idea. Agents, we have had the idea of agents for a very long time, but now we're at the point where the technology is cheap enough and people understand what they're for enough that we're going to try them out and see what happens. And I think when people tell you that they should just design an agent to do something, ask them, do we really need an agent? Because the answer is probably no. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with one thing. Again, I'm really an optimist. I think that this is the beginning of an incredible new renaissance for a lot of things. I love what people said yesterday about being curious. So Jim talked to you about the importance, right, of being curious. It is absolutely true. At Microsoft, we would not hire you because you had the highest GPA in your class. We would hire you because you were curious, which to us means you're a lifelong learner. Those are the people we want to be around. So with that, I always say, because this is a design crowd, the beauty we seek is not found in first impressions. It's always when the truth reveals itself that true beauty is found. So think about that. If you want to read my latest book, this is it. It's called Visualizing Business. It talks about a lot of the stuff I just talked about. I'm really easy to find. I would love to talk to all of you. Thank you for having me, okay? And try to remember, right? Be curious. Thank you.